We saved over $1,000 installing garage door openers in our brand new detached garage. In this video, we'll be going over how long it took, the difficulty level, and whether or not I think it's something that you ought to tackle. Let's get started. It went fairly well for the most part. Listen to how quiet those are. These things even got a camera. Of course you don't need to get those, but we'll talk about that as well. My wife and I, along with our 2 kids, completed this job in about 8 hours of labor over 2 days. Let's open this back up to get some air. The very first day, my wife and kids actually assembled both of the units on the ground, meaning the motor, putting the belt on, putting the rail on, while I put additional framing above the garage door to be able to mount the track. I thought this was gonna be my project. I didn't know it was gonna be theirs. They're just taking charge, man. I'm actually looking at the electrical circuits that I need to run for these now. The install was actually very simple because Chamberlain uses a mobile application called the Built app.
Place the motor unit on packing material to protect the cover and rest the back end of the rail on top.
This app is really cool. And you can go in there and select what model you have, and it's like a 3-dimensional set of instructions with everything laid out, parts, part numbers. You can manipulate it by rotating. It's really neat. Best set of instructions I've ever seen. But that doesn't mean everything went without hiccup. Because this was a brand new install, meaning we didn't have garage door openers before, there was nothing to go off of, no current infrastructure to look at, to figure out. And so having never done this before, we had to kind of figure some things out. That's what added some time onto it. When the book gives you dimensions about placing that bracket right there, you know, you're trying to work within the range, but then the doors are a little different than what the manual may show. So that adds a little bit of variable. So if you're replacing one Chamberlain with another or some other compatible unit, it may go much more easily than it did for us.
For Craftsman garage door opener, you may use the existing header bracket. Verify the bracket is in the correct location and is securely fastened to a structural support.
I would rate this project as a moderate difficulty. Let's talk about how we saved so much money. I called a local guy and said, hey, I have 2 8-foot garage doors that I need openers for. What kind of price am I looking at? And he came back, and I want to say he verbally told me $950 per garage door in order to get openers in here. I was taken aback a little bit because I had already looked into pricing of openers, saw that I didn't have to buy low grade, low tier, least powerful, least feature rich openers. They weren't very expensive. These units right here on Amazon, Lowe's, just about anywhere I was seeing, they were about $250, and that included all the parts for a 7-foot garage door. These are 8-footers. That presented a little bit of trouble. In fact, actually, it wouldn't have presented trouble, but I'll give you a tip on that later. Needless to say, $250 per opener. I needed to buy some of this punch iron, I believe it's called. I had to buy some of this stuff right here. This is called perforated angle iron, or I think another name is like punch angle or something. Those 2 pieces and 2 more that I need to go grab out of the pickup truck cost about $100. And we are into this about $700 or so, maybe a little bit more. And again, we'll talk about the 8-foot extension because that did throw us for a loop a little bit, but it's not because how Chamberlain designed it, it's because where and what I purchased. The first 4 hours of the install consisted of my wife and kids building the units on the ground. So I'm completely blown away. My wife and kids have actually been assembling all of both of the doors. They're using that Built app. I kind of was thinking it looked hokey until I actually looked at it. Myself putting additional framing up there so I could attach the rail, and just wading through the instructions, making sure we were doing everything correct. Hey bud, what do you think? Do you think the instructions are really good?
Yeah.
Are you having fun?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of the important things is the elevation of the garage door system. I want to say that the built app said that you needed to be 2 inches above the highest point.
Is centered to the door, and that the bottom edge of the bracket is 2 inches above the highest point of door travel. With the door closed, mark the inside vertical center line of the garage door using a level. Extend the line onto the header wall above the door.
So we ran into our first hiccup because it says to do 2 inches above the highest point of travel. On the books example, it shows that that is basically right when the door starts going over the radius, but ours are not. Now, one thing I noticed on our garage door install when we had the Amish build the building is they put this door at an angle, both of them. So what we did is we took the opener up about 2 inches above the door right there. We put a laser right up there, stacked it on some blocks, used a tripod, and I was able to shine with the door up at the top. So I came up with a solution. I love this laser level. It really helps me out. I will put links down in the description, but I shined that over here. Now, given this setup, this is the lowest I could get it. I wanted to really shine that level right here, but I couldn't. However, I was able to go ahead and shine it like this. That just so happens to be basically an inch. So if I go to the wall and measure 1 inch up, that's gonna be the bottom of my bracket. Rotate your end, honey, that way a little bit, just a hair. There we go.
It's off the camera.
It made the job go so much more easily. If you do not have a laser level, it's the time to get one. So on the first day, in the first 4 hours, we had both units hanging, but we couldn't test them out because we didn't have all of the bracketry done. We hadn't run the safety sensors here and the wiring associated with it, nor had we run the control wiring along here all the way over to here. Fair warning about this kit, the wiring it comes with is not sufficient for a garage of this size. Dimensionally, we're looking at 24 feet by 30 feet. We have a little bit of a gap here because we're putting a storm shelter here and we wanted to have room for freezers and other things like that over here. I discovered that they don't intend on giving you enough to get to secondary opener. If you want both switches to be over on that side, that one wire will barely just make it to this one. So thankfully, I had some of this stuff that I used for my doorbell in the past, and that's gonna make it to the secondary opener. This is currently the cat's place right now. I just so happen to have some of this doorbell wire right here. That's the brown one. So the white one came with the kit. The brown one was what I had left over, and that ended up working out well. If you're in a configuration like this, there's not enough wire in the kit. And another warning, the wires that go from the ground up give you enough wire to essentially do this and run over this way. I would have liked to have done it a little different, but I was running out of wire. Being lightweight like it is, it should be fine suspended there. If you have a ceiling or roof trusses, likely your situation would be different. I may also need to put a diagonal on that punch iron to keep anything from swinging side to side. So far, it hasn't been a problem. We have everything good and square, but better safe than sorry. The install went really well. I was a little bit nervous doing it, having never done it before, but I can tell you that after doing this, I will be putting at least one more opener on that shop right there. How do you think it's going so far?
Really easy. So far, the instructions are just really basic, and I think anyone could do this.
Do you think it's pretty intuitive?
Yes.
Awesome. Do you think that this is going to be worth the money we saved?
Yes.
Now, we're not done mounting them up on the ceiling,
but
though, right?
so far it's been
But
good.
you guys have already assembled basically the assemblies.
So,
Where's the
ready?
pliers,
Can you
Ben?
get those pliers, Ben? So first attach the back one.
So it wasn't so miserable or so difficult that I would never consider doing it again. There's other projects that we don't like doing, like tiling. We just do not like tiling. Now let's go over some prices. The openers were about $250 each. I have about $100 in punch iron. The extensions I bought on Amazon were about $55 a piece. If you have a 7-foot garage door, you can completely disregard that. But when you have an 8-foot door or taller, I believe 10 foot's the next tier up, you have to buy a longer piece of rail there and a longer belt. You'll notice that that belt is hanging slack. So,
Yeah, got it.
Done.
oh my gosh, that's awesome, man. That's what the spring released and the tension as tight as it can go. I purchased an 8-foot extension belt kit off of Amazon unknowingly. Well, it's just simply not OEM. The belt is too long. Not only that, the belt is a different length on this one and that one. So it seems like there's some quality control issues. I have purchased one OEM kit. That ought to give me a belt of the correct length. So I should be able to modify this belt and this belt, get them good and taut, and have an extra. I like the idea of having an extra on hand. When determining whether or not I'm going to tackle a project myself, I use some basic guidelines through all of our experience building this homestead on whether or not I'm going to do it myself. On this job here, I figured parts were going to run somewhere around $700. In my mind, I thought that by calling a garage door guy, I'd probably come in somewhere around the $1,200 to $1,500 range. When he told me $950 a piece, cat's bumping the camera. I immediately thought to myself, well, dang, I guess I'm doing the job. I discussed it with my wife and she had the same immediate reaction. We enjoy doing things for ourselves, saving money, but sometimes when you're busy, it's just nice to be able to hire someone out and get it done right, get it done quickly, and free up your time for something else. Do you think that this is going to be worth the money we saved?
Yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is that anytime I have a project, if I have $10,000 worth of material, oftentimes it works out that the total project done by someone else ends up being around 20. So in my opinion, I expected something like double the parts. Of course, there can be exceptions of that, but through our entire home build, these shop builds, we have found that it seems here locally where I live in Oklahoma, that installation is about the price of the parts. So you can pretty much double the project. Once I heard it was gonna be $1,900, I just had to do it myself. Would I do it again? The answer is yes. Do I think you should do it? That will largely be determined by whether or not you're the type of person that can look at something, figure it out. The instructions through the Built app are phenomenal, but that doesn't mean it eliminates all questions. I will be tying up all these cords that are hanging down on the overhead lighting, but we've got more lights to install. They come in a 10-pack just like this. And if you were to read the reviews, everyone, including myself, thinks, oh my gosh, what kinds of pieces of junk did I buy? They're extremely lightweight, but I'll tell you what, once they're installed, they provide a really nice light in here. There will be links down in the description to the lights, garage door openers, and the actual Chamberlain branded 8-foot extension. I actually shouldn't assume that. Let's make sure this looks like it's actual Chamberlain. Yeah, this looks way different than what I originally purchased. This, man, I wish I would have just bought these first, but again, I didn't know. And to briefly go over some of the features on these Chamberlain units, well, I think they're kind of neat. They actually have a camera built into them. I think this is a really neat feature. The garage door opener keeps a battery charged, so that way if you lose power, you can still open up your garage, which is awesome. I've had people actually get locked out of their garage when they lost power and they didn't have a key to their garage. They simply couldn't get in. The cameras are kind of neat because we can look up on our phone how if the garage door openers are open when we're gone, we can control them via Wi-Fi. Now with our house being metal and this garage being metal, Wi-Fi certainly has a difficulty getting over to the units, and so they go on and offline. That will be remedied here shortly because I'm going to be canvassing the entire property, the homestead, around all my structures with a mesh Wi-Fi system, so that way I can do what I need to do as a content creator. I wasn't necessarily looking for units with a camera, but at $250, it wasn't like I felt like I was paying for something I didn't want. I wasn't also looking for a belt drive system, but given the fact that I needed to do an extension, I didn't want to deal with a heavy, greasy chain to do an extension. These are super quiet. I don't really care about them being quiet because this is not attached to our home, nor would I care if it was attached to my home, especially something that's so intermittently used like a garage door opener. I guess if you were sleeping right above the garage door like I did when I was a kid in a 2-story house in California, you heard the door, but it didn't really disturb me or awaken me. The cat's jungle gym. This one wants to stay in the garage, so it's crazy. It just won't go out on its own. We have to fight to keep it out. That's one of the reasons why I want to put an electric opener on the shop, because if the cat gets trapped in there and it's kind of hot and we're away from the house, I want to be able to press the button, crack it open so the cat could skitter out and then shut it. I think that'll be a really cool feature. Now, if you haven't checked out our sub panel video where we got power to this garage, we have a 60 amp service to here. Put a 100 amp panel in, but a 60 amp breaker in my house, ran number 6 copper over to this. Make sure you check out that video. We purchased a lot online, and I'm increasingly enjoying the concept of buying through an app, picking up at the store, or getting it shipped directly to us. That's what we did here. I was able to order them at a convenient time where I didn't have to go to the store, figure out what they had. I was able to read the specifications, read the reviews, look at the parts I needed, click buy, and have them shipped directly to me. I will include links in the description for the lights, the garage door openers, and other various tools like the laser level that I found absolutely necessary to do this install. Although we're not completely done because of the poor quality belts I purchased on Amazon, well, I did purchase what I think is gonna be a high quality belt on Amazon as well, but the poor quality belts on Amazon that I purchased have made it so this job is not 100% complete. It's operational, there's been no problems, and I do probably need to put that one angled bracket in here. Otherwise, this job was wrapped up. We saved a ton of money, and my wife and I looked at each other in the end and said, this actually was not too bad. This was something that was important for me to get set up for my wife. We got all the receptacles in here. Yes, these are GFCI protected with the exception of those because those are for appliances. I ran the receptacles on the first day also, and that made it really easy. I didn't want to put them in until I knew exactly where the openers were going to go. We also, like I said, haven't tied up these cords because we're kind of adding lights and we're still shifting them around. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take all the lights up to that level right there. So that means that I need to go and I need to bring all these up to make them even across here. I came up with a cool solution. I used the cable that we used for our deck to hang these lights this way. That worked out extremely well. Those do not have a significant load capacity, but these lights are about as thin and cheap feeling as you could ever imagine. That's worked out really well. My wife and I truly look back at this project and say, that was not bad. We'd do it again. It's not our favorite thing to do, but it's doable. We had a little bit of fun as a family. It was really cool watching my wife and kids looking at that iPad, figuring it out, getting the parts put together, sometimes getting it wrong, having to disassemble it. But it was a great learning experience. It's getting hot in here, so I'm gonna open up these doors. I will probably put out a video talking about or showing me shortening up those belts. If you're interested in that, make sure you check that one out. And if you'd like to see other progress on our homestead, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up and also hit that hype button. I think it helps out quite a bit. Thank you for watching the Okie Woodsman channel, and we will see you on the next one.